I think the main takeaway from UFC 300 was the Max Holloway knockout. To beat a guy like Justin Gaethje and then in the last 10 seconds throw that all away to just bang it out in the center. However, I do want to talk about Justin Gaethje because there is a very weird story coming in where there's not much left for Justin Gaethje. I think if we are going to talk about a man's career, we have to talk about the overall, what has he brought to the career that we are talking about. And for Justin Gaethje, he was a PFL guy at first. Gaethje was a PFL, well, at the time it was World Series of Fighting, which ended up turning into the PFL, but he won 10 straight, being their champion for all the way until he got into the Michael Johnson fight. I remember when Gaethje was coming into the UFC, and I was so excited because this guy puts on car wrecks. He just puts on absolute wars, and he ends up beating you. He ends up kicking your leg out, and now he's going to go into the top UFC divisions, go against very talented guys, like his first fight being against Michael Johnson, and just take him to deep waters. And that's what he did against Michael Johnson. Although he did get hurt, he took him to deep waters, and he ended up winning. And it was a very questionable thing. If you can do this to Michael Johnson, who else can you do that to? And it seemed like Justin Gaethje was going to do it to everybody, and he was starting to do it against Eddie Alvarez until he got hurt and he got tired. That was the main issue, is that Gaethje can do this for a round, he can do this for 2 rounds, which is very impressive, but once you get to that 3rd round, Gaethje started gassing out, and that's when Eddie Alvarez took over. And his next fight was another loss against Dustin Poirier, where he didn't get tired. It looked like both of them were getting tired, but he actually got caught. Dustin Poirier landed a slick 2 when Justin Gaethje was throwing the leg kick, and that proceeded to rock Gaethje. And we all know, if Dustin Poirier smells blood in the water, he's going to unleash the greatest Mortal Kombat combo of all time. He's going to release 40 different punches into your skull, and then he's going to get the knockout. But then we see a shift in Justin Gaethje, where he talked to Trevor Whitman, his coach, and said, I want to start winning belts. I don't want to be the highlight anymore. I just want to be an actual champion. And you see that in the 4-fight run that happens between James Vick, Edson Barbosa, Donald Cerrone, and the eventual end of Tony Ferguson, where you see the same sort of Justin Gaethje, which is pressure heavy, but then also have a counter punch or a tracking down of punches, sort of say, because against Edson Barbosa, he was very defensive with the leg kicks and slowly started to push him back, and then finally caught him with a hook. The old Justin Gaethje would just react fire with fire, which it looked like he was going to start to do that, and then he kind of calmed down and started just being very smart with his pressure. Same with Donald Cowboy Cerrone, where he was actually moving backwards when he got the knockout. He leaned backwards and got the 2, and then got really mad at the ref because he didn't stop the fight. And then Tony Ferguson was this new and improved Justin Gaethje. That was Justin Gaethje 100%. I want to be a champion, where he was on the back foot a good chunk of the time until Tony got like devastatingly hurt, or career-ending hurt. And Justin was fighting smart. He was listening to what Trevor Whitman was saying, which was, don't throw 100%, throw 40, throw 50, because you're going to end up hurting this guy, which that's what he does, and gets a round 5 knockout against one of the greatest lightweights we've ever seen. And then comes the downfall. Now, I don't think it's like a crazy downfall to say it, but when he did lose to Khabib, we did see a very big shift in Gaethje once again. No longer after this fight where he was wanting to be a champion, he got a little bit more wild and became sort of the highlight, but like a very new and improved highlight. And the Khabib fight showed levels to the jiu-jitsu that Justin Gaethje just does not have. Justin Gaethje, he has a very big wrestling mindset where you want to get to your back instantly. That's engraved in every wrestler's mind, because in wrestling, if you're not on your back, you're probably getting pinned. So you want to be on your back instantly. And that's what he did against Khabib, which is the worst thing you want to do against Khabib. Khabib ends up submitting him pretty quickly. And that's when we have the shift that I'm talking about. Because in the Michael Chandler fight, we saw this new and improved highlight where he's going to put on a fucking banger, but he's not going to be so reckless. He was actually very smart in his counter punches. The big uppercut that everyone sees was a read. He did that literally seconds before he got the knockdown. And then you go against the Charles Oliveira fight, where same thing as the Khabib. He got taken down. Well, he got rocked from Charles Oliveira and instantly went to his back, and Charles just ate him alive. And that's what Charles does. Charles, if you give Charles your back, you might as well just call it a day. So you go from a 4-fight winning streak to then winning one of your last 3. You go against Rafael Fiziev, and I remember going into that fight thinking, I think Rafael Fiziev is going to take this. I think it's going to be a very bad matchup for Justin Gaethje. You're going to try to out-kickbox a kickboxing champion. I thought this was going to look horrible, and Gaethje proved to have so much layers on him in terms of the actual striking reads that he makes. With a record of 5-4 before this fight, it was very interesting to see how Gaethje did fight. Was he going to be the highlight? Was he going to be the counter puncher? And he ended up being kind of both. He put on a wonderful performance, but was also making incredible reads while doing so. And Fiziev just got caught and was not good in terms of cardio wise. He did tire out not very quickly, but he did tire out in the 3rd round, which gave Justin Gaethje the 3rd round, giving him the decision. Now, Gaethje just fought one of those new generation guys. That's what every guy in this top 3 just fought. Charles Oliveira fought Arman. Dustin Poirier fought Benoit Saint-Denis. Beneil has fought almost everybody that's quote-unquote new generation. Getting that Rafael Fiziev fight, he then got the BMF belt from Dustin Poirier, which that head kick was insane, but that 1st round looked very murky for Gaethje, and that's honestly what Max kind of emphasized on, where Gaethje likes to crumble down and shell up and lean down. Holloway was able to really pick that apart. Dustin Poirier just got caught in the 2nd round, but was definitely winning that 1st round. It looked really good for Dustin going into the 2nd, and then the head kick heard around the world. Not the Leon head kick, it was the Justin Gaethje head kick, which shocked everybody. I was never even thinking that Gaethje could even get his foot that high. I did not think Gaethje had the flexibility to do so. Then comes the Max fight. As I mentioned, Max got knockout of the year, but he was also really putting on a beating to Justin Gaethje, which, if anyone was watching it and was thinking about the fight, it looked like what Gaethje did to Tony Ferguson. It looked horrible. I mean, every round, although yes, it was competitive, it was like very convincingly, Max is winning this. And that's what happened to Tony Ferguson against Justin Gaethje. It was semi-competitive, not as much as what it was in Gaethje Holloway, but it was a real beating where you could kind of see who's winning, and you're like, oh, this is gonna, like, going into the later rounds is gonna look worse and worse. And that's exactly what happened against Gaethje. Gaethje in the 5th round found something, but it was just a little too late, where he just said, if I beat Max first, if I beat him to the punch, beat him in the initial exchange, I can look very good. And that's what happened in the 4th round, where Gaethje was able to read that, but Max really switched it on, really looked really good. That spinning back kick is something that was super technical in terms of backing up and then jumping into it, so you can't really pressure me. That stopped a lot of Justin Gaethje's work. Andy made a great video about Max Holloway. Please watch that, because that was a masterclass that Max Holloway performed, so much so that after that, people were kind of drained out. People were like, okay, that's it. We still had 2 more title fights right after Max Holloway's knockout, and those fights ended up being really good. I can't imagine, if those fights were bad, how forgettable this card would have been, and it would have just been the Max Holloway show. But that leads the question, what's next for Justin Gaethje? After the Dustin Poirier fight, Justin Gaethje said, I'm going to have one more crack at the belt, and if I can't, then I can't. And I don't know if that means if he loses once, he's just going to retire. But with the damage that he just got and getting a flatline knockout, there's something different of getting knocked out in the way of getting a TKO, getting anything along those lines. There is something bad, and I'm saying bad, about getting a faceplant knockout after getting such a bad beating. That takes years off your life. And we saw that in the Tony Ferguson knockout, where that beating was horrific. The beating that Justin Gaethje put on Tony was horrific, and now you are going to have Tony fight more, and what happens is Tony just never came back, never showed up to his ability, let alone he gets flatlined by Michael Chandler the same sort of way that Gaethje kind of got flatlined, where he just goes face first to the canvas, face eats canvas. That takes years off you. And if Gaethje's talking about one more title shot, he's going to have one more run. And if he can't, he can't. I think we might see the end of the highlight. I don't think we see Justin Gaethje anymore. Now, that would break all of our hearts because, I mean, who doesn't like watching a Justin Gaethje fight? But if it is what it is, it has to happen. It sucks to say that, but when you take that level of damage and then get knocked out, it's gonna look really bad. And if you only are looking for title shots, you're not looking for money, you can't really get anywhere in the business anymore. You just lost to Max Holloway, a 145er who moved up to 155. And I think the worst part of this loss is Max Holloway's not even really looking at Islam. Max Holloway's looking at Ilia Topuria. So it does look like Max went up for one fight, got an absolute payday, and beat Justin Gaethje so convincingly, and now he's just going to move back down. That's going to take a lot of steam off the punch. If Max Holloway stayed in 155, fought Islam, had a good fight, or even lost to Islam very convincingly, it would have been like, okay, well, it's very obvious Islam is in his own criteria, so this Gaethje loss isn't the worst. But now he's going back down to 145. It just does not look good in terms of what Justin Gaethje can do. He needs to win maybe 2 to 3 now to get a title shot. But if Gaethje is still fighting, if he is looking for a money fight, no longer the champion, I think that if he does want to continue to fight, he has to shift his mind to I want to get paid. And I think the Charles Oliveira rematch or the winner of Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor, will really help Justin Gaethje to get a bounce back, but not even get a bounce back, get his money that he so rightfully deserves. This guy is a bonus machine. He just won a bonus again, even though he got knocked out, but he continues to win bonuses, and now finally he can get the biggest payday, which is if Conor beats Chandler, that's a payday. Even if he doesn't, if Chandler beats Conor and then fights Gaethje, that's a payday as well. And Charles Oliveira is one of the more beloved UFC fighters, and everyone loves him. Even casual fans love him. And so that's another payday. I think Gaethje, if he is going to continue to fight, which I don't think he should, because I like to see fighters go back to their families. I like to see fighters not be fucking drooling at the age of 50. I think Gaethje should retire, but if he isn't, he should be looking for money fights. He should be looking for these 3 fights that I just mentioned. I think the Michael Chandler fight would work out perfectly for Gaethje again. Gaethje will be able to make his reads. I think the Conor fight is a lot harder than people anticipated. If Conor can defend that leg kick, you could see a Max 2.0 given Conor's speed and his overall size in the division. And the Charles fight is every Charles fight. He can knock you out any moment, he can submit you any second, but you could do the same. So it is a very scary fight in terms of Charles Oliveira Gaethje, but I think he would want to go for Conor McGregor. And if Conor even loses to Michael Chandler, it makes sense to do the Conor fight right after, because Conor might not be able to have the same sort of bearing arms that he usually does have, and now you're going to set him up against the highlight. It's going to be a perfect fight, and I think that would be the big fight in terms of what can Justin Gaethje do left in his career and what can Conor have left in his career, because there isn't really much. Guys, let me know how you feel about Justin Gaethje's career. Let me know what you think he should be doing after this Max Holloway fight, because this was not the greatest look in terms of what can Gaethje do left. And let me know what else you guys want to see. I can do anything else if you guys are looking forward to it. Just leave it in the comments. I'm free to do so. It's been Santi. It's been Studs.